So you've just got your hands on the Sigma 16mm f1.4 and you're excited about it. You want to get out, you want to start shooting, you want to start taking pictures with it, but at the same time, you also want some tips on how to go about it. So that's the whole point of this video. I'm going to share with you 5 tips on how to shoot with the Sigma 16mm f1.4 to help you along the way. Now these tips that I'm going to give you are mainly for the Canon M50, but it also applies to any other camera you might be using. Maybe the Sony a6400 or the Sony a6000, whatever the case may be, as long as you're using the Sigma 16mm f1.4. These same rules will apply to those cameras as well. So yeah. So tip number 1 is that you don't always have to shoot wide open. I know it's tempting having a lens with such a wide aperture, but you don't always have to shoot at 1.4. Sometimes it's more important to stop it down to something like 2.8 or f3.5 or even f4. Because sometimes some of these lenses, they're only at their sharpest when you stop them down. So don't always think you have to shoot wide open just because the option's there. You should always explore more of what the camera and the lens has to offer. And aside from that, sometimes when you're shooting at apertures as low as 1.4, it can be quite hard to get focus. You know, if you're relying on the autofocus of the camera, sometimes when you're shooting in something like an f1.4, it can be quite hard to nail that focus in. And I know it's tempting because right now everybody wants that good depth of field, that nice, rich, blurry background, but there's no point if it's going to affect your footage in the long run. So always bear that in mind. You don't always have to shoot wide open. Try stopping it down and get the best out of the lens that you possibly can get. Right, so tip number 2 is always plan your shots. So because the lens is so wide, you always have to be intentional about what you're actually getting in frame. So you don't want to get things that's going to distract people from the subject. You want to always make sure that everything you've got in frame is what you want to be in frame. You always have to be conscious of what's being shown in frame. So especially if you're doing landscape photography or something similar to that, always make sure that you're aware of what's in the edges of the frame. Always know that sometimes you might have to reposition yourself or the camera in order to get the right shot that you want to get. So yeah, always be aware of what you're shooting at all times. Be aware, because it's so wide, certain things can get in that you might regret later on. So always bear that in mind. Okay, so tip number 3 is a bit of a contradicting one in terms of the first tip, and that is to take advantage of the fact that the lens is a low aperture lens. What I mean by that is that you should always try to take advantage of what you can get out of the lens in ways such as getting closer to your subject. Now, this tip is especially useful for B-roll and other things that might be related to that. By simply getting closer to your subject, you're putting more emphasis on it, which always makes it look way better than it normally would. So always bear that in mind, that you should take advantage of that wide aperture and get close to your subject. Get close to your subject and get more out of it. Get more out of the footage, and which will in turn make it look more, you know, more cinematic, basically. So yeah. So tip number 4 is to know and understand the weaknesses of your camera and of your lens. For instance, the Canon M50, it's a great camera, it's great for a lot of things, but it has a few flaws. And one of them being, it's not great in low light. It's actually kind of terrible when it comes to low light. So knowing that, there's certain things that you're not gonna want to do, and there's certain things that you might wanna do at the same time. And when I say it's not good in low light, I mean cases such as increasing the ISO, you're gonna get very grainy footage. It's gonna look really grainy and very bad. So you don't wanna go too high when it comes to the ISO. And so with knowing that, let's say you're at a gig or a concert or something and it's quite, you know, dim lighting or very low light. So what you wanna do is you wanna prioritize the aperture rather than the ISO. You're gonna wanna have it as open as you possibly can. You don't wanna have the aperture at something like f3.5 or f4 and then having to take the ISO up to like 16,000 or whatever, or higher than that, because you're going to get a very grainy footage. You might be able to get more things in focus or whatever, but it's not worth it when your footage is coming out looking like crap, basically. So you want to take full advantage, you want to prioritize that low aperture rather than say something like the ISO. So always know the strengths and the weaknesses of both your camera and your lens, and putting that together, you're always going to get the best out of what you've got. So the last tip that I've got for you is to shoot as much and as often as you possibly can. Always get out there, every chance that you get your camera, get the lens and get out there and shoot. And the reason I'm saying that is because practice makes perfect. So you're not gonna get good at something, or you're not gonna get the best results at something just by, say, maybe watching this video or something, or watching another video, or just going out there once or twice and then thinking, yeah, you know, you've got this or whatever. You're gonna wanna keep doing it. You're gonna wanna practice and practice and practice. And the more you practice, the more you shoot with the lens, the better you're gonna be, the better you're gonna get at it. You're gonna understand, oh, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do with this lens. So things like that. It's very important to always get out there to shoot as much as possible. Now, for me personally, I know I need to be shooting a lot more than I actually am doing, but the weather's been absolutely terrible around here. It rains nearly every day. I'm not even joking, it rained. It was really, really terrible the other day. Absolutely, there was a storm Sierra, I think it was called, or something like that. Yeah, just to give you an idea of how actually bad the weather can be around here, around this time of year anyway. So hopefully when the weather starts to get better, I'll be able to get out more and shoot more. And so should you guys. So no excuses, always get out there, always shoot as much as you possibly can so that you can get better at what you're doing. And by the way, I know I've been slacking with the uploads, but that's because I've been really busy recently. I've been trying to find a new job and it's been really stressful, so yeah, but things are gonna start picking up more on the channel, so yeah, make sure you stay tuned for all of that. For this video, I hope you've enjoyed it and I hope you've learned something, and if you have, just make sure you subscribe and like the video also. My next video, I think, is probably going to be how to get the best results out of the M50 in regards to video. and I might do one on photography as well, because the M50 is actually pretty good for both video and photography. It's a pretty good camera for both. So yeah, make sure you look out for that and subscribe so you don't miss it. And yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care and peace.